So, what actually happens when a state decides to start taxing its millionaires? Well, in Washington, it's not just some dry economic question. Oh no. It's kicking off a major chain reaction, especially in the super high stakes world of luxury real estate. And today, we're going to dive right into that ripple effect. I mean, this is the central question, right? It's the core of this huge real time experiment that's happening in Washington state. And you better believe this policy has some massive implications. Everyone, and I mean everyone, from economists to top real estate agents, is watching this thing like a hawk to see how it all shakes out. Okay, so first things first, what exactly is this policy that's got everybody talking? Well, it's way more than just a new line item on a tax form. Think of it as a catalyst, something that could spark some really major shifts in personal wealth and the entire property market. All right, here are the nitty-gritty details. We're talking about a 9.9% tax, so basically a 10% tax, on any annual income over $1 million. Now, here's a key thing to remember. It's not actually in effect yet. It's planned for 2028, and it's definitely facing some legal battles. But, just the idea of it is already making some serious waves. So that 9.9%, it sounds pretty high, doesn't it? But here's the thing. The tax is designed to be super, super targeted. We're talking about affecting just half of 1% of all households. But, and this is a big but, that tiny little fraction, well, that happens to be the very group that has a huge influence on the luxury and investment property markets. See the connection? So how are the folks who are actually going to be paying this tax reacting? Well, as you can probably guess, it's not a simple answer. Opinions are really divided, and people are basically splitting into two very, very different camps. A real estate broker named Jacob Weaver is seeing this firsthand with his high net worth clients. He says there's a really clear split. On one side, you've got the planners. These are the folks who are already on the phone with their accountants, actively strategizing, and maybe even thinking about moving. Then on the other side, you have the acceptors, the ones who are kind of taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. And this quote from one of those clients, it just perfectly nails that acceptor mindset. It's this really pragmatic view, right? They're basically saying, look, I'm not thrilled about paying more in taxes myself, but if it helps the state and society as a whole, then it's probably the right thing to do. Okay, so this is interesting. The tax isn't just changing people's minds, it's actually changing their timelines. For some of Washington's wealthy residents, it's become a huge accelerator for major life decisions. We're talking about things like moving out of state, stuff that they might have been thinking about doing years down the road. And agents on the ground are seeing this happen in real time. That casual, oh, maybe in 5 or 10 years we'll move plan, all of a sudden that's getting compressed into a 2 or 3-year plan. The tax is essentially forcing people to ask themselves, you know what, why should we wait? So where are these folks looking to go? Well, no surprise here. They're looking at markets with, let's say, friendlier tax environments. Places like Nevada, Palm Springs, Florida, the Phoenix area. States like Nevada and Florida, which have no state income tax at all, are suddenly looking very, very attractive for second homes or maybe even a new primary residence. And listen, for some people, this isn't just a hypothetical plan anymore. It's already happened. Another agent, Aaron Abrahamson, talks about the very real frustration some of his ultra-wealthy clients feel. He says they're done. They left. They haven't just bought a condo somewhere else. They are literally building new homes. And for all intents and purposes, they've already exited Washington. But okay, hold on. There's a really important piece of the puzzle here that we can't ignore. A broker named Heidi Brand points out that real estate lobbyists fought for and won a huge exemption. Washington's 7% capital gains tax, it does not apply to the sale of your primary home. And that is a massive detail for any homeowner who's worried about getting hit with a giant tax bill when they decide to sell. All right, so let's take stock. We've got some high net worth folks speeding up their plans to leave the state. So what does that actually mean for Washington's luxury real estate market? I mean, is this the start of a big downturn? Well, the short answer is not yet. According to that same broker, Heidi Brand, things in that core luxury market, we're talking homes in the $1 to $2 million range, are still surprisingly hot. She's saying homes are still getting multiple offers, which really suggests that the market's basic foundation is, at least for now, holding up pretty strong. But if we look down the road a bit, there's this really fascinating potential side effect. Heidi Brand calls it the laddering effect. The theory goes like this: if the super ultra high-end market does cool off a bit, it might actually drop prices just enough to let buyers from a slightly lower price range climb the ladder, so to speak, and get into homes they never could have afforded before. Kind of cool, right? And you have to remember, it's not just a push factor from Washington's new tax. There's also a really powerful pull factor from other states. Jacob Weaver brings this up. He says you've got these incredible new luxury developments in places like Nevada, for example, that are actively rolling out the red carpet for this exact group of people with some absolutely amazing properties and amenities. So where does that leave us? What's the bottom line here? Well, the truth is, this story is a long way from being over. What we're really watching is this incredible tug of war, right? You've got tax policy on one side, the overall market stability on the other, and caught right in the middle are the very personal decisions of some very wealthy people. I think the big takeaway for right now is that there are kind of two different stories happening at the same time. On one hand, yes, some individuals are absolutely making big, life-changing moves. But on the other hand, the wider market, its foundations are still solid. For now, it seems like stability is winning the day, and it makes having a smart real estate agent more important than ever to help navigate all this. And all of this brings us back to that ultimate massive question. The goal of a tax like this is pretty clear. It's an attempt to rebalance wealth. But the consequences, the human reactions, they are anything but predictable. So you have to wonder, will this effort to reshape wealth end up reshaping Washington's entire economy in ways that, frankly, nobody saw coming? I guess we'll have to wait and see.